لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر.
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر.
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر.
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر.
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة. واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة. واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة. واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة. واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات.
في إطار المستجدات الاقتصادية والمالية الإقليمية والدولية. اسمحوا لي بداية أن أعرب عن خالص التقدير والترحيب بالسيدة كريستين لاغارد المدير العام لصندوق النقد الدولي لحرصها على التواجد معنا في المنتدى وإلقاء كلمة افتتاحية إضافة إلى كافة النشاطات الأخرى المشتركة مع صندوق النقد الدولي بفضل دعم والقناعة الراسخة لدى مدام لاغارد بالتعاون مع المؤسسات المالية العربية خاصة صندوق النقد العربي. الشكر كذلك موصول للسيد فيتر جاسبر مدير دائرة الشؤون المالية العامة في صندوق النقد الدولي وزملائه في الصندوق على جهودهم وتعاونهم مع زملائه في صندوق النقد العربي في الإعداد والتحضير للمنتدى والعمل على توفير كل السبل التي تساهم في نجاحه وتحقيقه للأغراض المنشودة منه. كما لا يفوتني في هذه الافتتاحية التعبير عن خالص الشكر والامتنان لمعالي عبيد حميد الطاير وزير الدولة للشؤون المالية في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة على تكرمه بالمشاركة في افتتاح المنتدى وللدعم والتعاون الذي قدمه وزملائه في وزارة المالية. كما أود أيضا أن أعرب عن خالص الامتنان والشكر لكم جميعا أصحاب المعالي وزراء المالية ومحافظي المصارف المركزية ومؤسسات النقد العربية ورؤساء المؤسسات المحلية والإقليمية والصناديق العربية الذين شرفونا اليوم بمشاركتهم وحضورهم المنتدى، الأمر الذي يجسد حرصهم على تعزيز فرص تبادل التجارب والخبرات بين الدول العربية في مناقشة تحديات السياسة المالية في إطار التطورات والتحديات الراهنة. الشكر موصول لجميع المسؤولين والخبراء والمتحدثين من المؤسسات والهيئات والوزارات العربية والدولية على تفضلهم بالمشاركة بما يسهم في إثراء النقاش حول مختلف قضايا المالية العامة ومتطلبات الإصلاح للارتقاء بكفاءة السياسات المالية ومساهمتهم في دعم فرص النمو المستدام. بدون طالة اسمحوا لي الآن أن أعطي الكلمة لمعالي الوزير عبيد الطاير فليتفضل مشكورا.
شكرا معاليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. معالي مدام لاغارد، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم، أرحب بكم أجمل الترحيب في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة التي تحتضن منتدى المالية العربي في دورته الرابعة، متمنيا للمنتدى النجاح وللمشاركين طيب الإقامة. شهدت الأشهر المنصرمة إشارات على تباطؤ زخم النمو العالمي، كما شهدت تقلبات متزايدة في الأسواق المالية وأسعار النفط، مما أدى إلى زيادة عدم اليقين بشأن توقعات النمو العالمي، فضلاً عن المخاطر الأخرى بما في ذلك تلك المتعلقة بالتوترات التجارية بين الولايات المتحدة والصين والارتباك الحاصل بشأن خروج بريطانيا من الاتحاد الأوروبي بدون اتفاق، إضافة إلى تشديد أوضاع المالية العامة والعوامل الجيوسياسية في المنطقة. أما بالنسبة لتعثر المفاوضات التجارية بين الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية والصين، فإن الدول العربية تعتبر شريكاً تجارياً وثيقاً للجانبين، ويهمها أن لا تتأثر هذه الشراكة نتيجة لذلك، حيث أسهمت احتياجات الصين المتنامية من الطاقة في إيجاد ترابط قوي بين الشرق الأوسط والصين، وخصوصاً في مبادرة الحزام والطريق التي تتضمن إنشاء مجمعات صناعية وموانئ ومناطق اقتصادية جديدة ونشاطات مرتكزة على الاقتصاد الرقمي. وهذه المبادرة وإن كانت تشكل العديد من الفرص، إلا أنها ستؤثر على تنافسية المواقع الاستراتيجية على طرق التجارة الدولية، وهو ما يستدعي تعزيز التنسيق بين الدول العربية من أجل الاستفادة من هذه المبادرة ولعب دور محوري فيها. وفي إطار السياسات التجارية الدولية، فإن الاستمرار في تبني سياسة الحمائية سياسة الحمائية سيؤدي إلى المزيد من الضغط على التدفقات التجارية العالمية، مما سيقود إلى التراجع في العديد من الاقتصادات حول العالم، وهو ما يمكن أن يؤدي في النهاية إلى التأثير سلباً على الدول المتبنية للنهج الحمائي نفسها. وبالنسبة لخروج بريطانيا من الاتحاد الأوروبي، فإنه قد ينجم عنه عدد من الفرص بالنسبة للدول العربية، وخصوصاً تلك المتعلقة بشروط الاستثمار وتحسين المركز التفاوضي التجاري مع الاتحاد الأوروبي والمملكة المتحدة، إضافة إلى الفرص الجديدة في السوق العقاري نظراً لانخفاض قيمة الجنيه الاسترليني. وبالمقابل فلا بد من التفكير في تلافي الآثار غير المرغوبة، مثل انخفاض الاستثمارات البريطانية في المنطقة العربية، وإلى تدني مستوى السياحة البريطانية والواردات البريطانية من الخارج. وعلى العموم فإن البريكزت يشكل تجربة لا بد للتكتلات الاقتصادية من دراستها والاستفادة من دروسها. السيدات والسادة، يعتبر خلق فرص العمل أمر بالغ الأهمية للنمو الاقتصادي وللخروج من دائرة الفقر المفرطة، والذي عادة ما يكون نتيجة لوجود قطاع خاص قوي بوصفه أحد أهم عوامل التنمية الاقتصادية، حيث يعمل القطاع الخاص على تعزيز الإنتاجية والقدرة التنافسية وروح المبادرة، علاوة على الاستثمار في رفع مستوى التعليم والمهارات. وهو الأمر الذي يستلزم فسح المجال لهذا القطاع وتحفيزه للقيام بهذا الدور الحيوي، وعدم مزاحمة القطاع العام له لتجنب التضخم والترهل في الأجهزة الحكومية، بما يشكله ذلك من ضغط على المالية العامة وصناديق التقاعد، وخصوصاً مع الزيادة في متوسط العمر، وبالتالي على الاستدامة المالية، وذلك في إطار نظام ضريبي عادل يتسم بالنزاهة والبساطة في الوقت الذي يلبي فيه الموارد اللازمة للوفاء بالالتزامات الاقتصادية والمجتمعية، ولا يؤثر على الشرائح ذات الدخل المحدود. وفي مجال تمكين القطاع الخاص من القيام بدوره في الدول الغنية بالموارد الطبيعية، استخراجية كانت أم زراعية، وبهدف توفير فرص للأعداد المتزايدة من الداخلين الجدد على سوق العمل وتحقيق الأمن الغذائي، ينبغي العمل بالشراكة مع القطاع الخاص على الاستفادة من القطاعات الغنية لتطوير وتعزيز الاقتصاد وتحسين الأطر القانونية والمؤسسية والاقتصادية والقدرات البشرية في هذه القطاعات، على الوجه الذي يضمن الاستخدام الأكثر كفاءة لهذه الموارد، وخاصة في ظل عدم إمكانية استمرار الدول المانحة في تقديم المساعدات والقروض. وعلى صعيد التحول التكنولوجي، فإن الاقتصاد الرقمي يتميز بالقدرة على تعزيز الإنتاجية والدخل والرفاه الاجتماعي، كما أنه من شأنه توفير فرص عمل في أسواق جديدة وزيادة فرص العمل في بعض المهن القائمة، مثل التقنيات الرقمية التي تمكن من إنتاج المزيد من السلع والخدمات بمدخلات أقل من العمالة، إلا أنها في الوقت عينه تعرض شريحة أخرى من قوى العمل إلى خطر البطالة أو انخفاض الأجور. ويبقى التحدي القائم الذي تواجهه الحكومات هو بناء القدرات وتطوير المهارات لتعزيز النمو والعمالة في الأنشطة الاقتصادية الجديدة، ولجني فوائد التحول إلى الاقتصاد الرقمي، مع مراعاة خصوصية الدول العربية، حيث لا يفترض بمنصات التجارة الإلكترونية على سبيل المثال أن تؤدي إلى القضاء على قطاعات تجارة الجملة أو التجزئة الراسخة في التقاليد التجارية للمنطقة. لذا لا بد من العمل على إيجاد تشريعات تحكم دخول منصات التجارة الإلكترونية العالمية لأسواق الدول العربية، والعمل على تطوير منصات إلكترونية محلية وإقليمية للرفع من مستوى المنافسة وكسر الاحتكار. الحضور الكريم، تعتبر البيانات عصب الاقتصاد الحديث، بحيث أصبح يطلق عليها النفط الجديد، وذلك لأنها القوة الدافعة لمنصات التبادل التجاري الإلكتروني والتواصل الاجتماعي، إلا أن ذلك لا يعني الحصول عليها والتربح منها بدون إذن أصحابها. وفي هذا الإطار فإن وزارة المالية في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة في المراحل النهائية من مشروع قانون اتحادي يهدف إلى حماية البيانات والمعلومات الشخصية في المعاملات المالية وفقا للمعايير الدولية الحديثة، ومن ضمنها تلك التي أرساها الاتحاد الأوروبي والمعروفة بالGDPR، الأمر الذي من شأنه أن يعزز من اندماج اقتصاد الدولة في الاقتصاد العالمي ودعم النشاطات المتعلقة بنظم الدفع الإلكتروني والخدمات المالية بمختلف أنواعها، مما يسهل حركة رؤوس الأموال ويكرس مركز الدولة كمقصد استثماري جاذب. الحضور الكريم، لا يفوتني في هذه المناسبة إلا أن أتقدم بالشكر إلى صندوق النقد العربي وإلى مع أصحاب المعالي وزراء المالية ومحافظي البنوك المركزية على جهودهم في إطلاق نظام المقاصة الذي تم اعتماده في إبريل من العام الماضي، والذي سيكون له أثر إيجابي على مقاصة وتسوية المدفوعات العربية البينية. وفي الختام أتقدم بالشكر والتقدير لكل من أسهم في إنجاح هذا المنتدى، عاملين الخروج بتوصيات عملية تسهم في استدامة المالية العامة وضمان العدالة للأجيال القادمة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا معالي الوزير. الآن اسمحوا لي أن أعطي الكلمة الرئيسية مدام كريستين لاغارد، فلتتفضل. Please.
Well, shukran, and thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. Let me say, as a very short preface, that I would like to express my gratitude and my thanks to all those who have been thanked by my two predecessors, because they are the best at identifying everybody and not letting anyone outside the net. So I don't want to repeat all the names, all the institutions, but without these two gentlemen next to me, this conference simply would not hold. So my gratitude goes to them first, and goes to Vitor, who is sitting next to my friend here, because Vitor, as you know, is the head of the Fiscal Affairs Department, and together with his team, they have put a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of brain power, and provide to many of you a lot of technical assistance in the areas that we are going to discuss in the course of today. So thank you very much, Vitor, and thank you for the really good work that has been done. I am, Minister Al-Tayer, delighted to be back in Dubai. Today is today, but Dubai in many ways is tomorrow. And it always reminds me of this inspiration of actually creating the world of tomorrow, despite the fact that this is today. And it's a vision which, as identified by the rulers, is a vision of fairness over cronyism and partiality, and of trust that government policy actually works for the common good of the people. And it's a big vision. He has, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum once said, and I quote him, "The bigger your vision, the bigger your achievement will be. We cannot let fear keep us small. We have to be brave to be big." William Faulkner said something similar when he said, "Make sure that you have big dreams so that you don't lose sight of them." And that's very much what is at stake here. Now, what has that got to do with finance ministers who deal with budget and numbers and not with poets? Well, fiscal policy, as you know, plays a critical role in actually making sure that the dreams are delivered upon. And if it wasn't without if you did not have the fiscal space, there would not be the right spending on health, on education, on those new industries that our youth actually aspires to. So finance ministers are particularly relevant, and I was one of them, just like you, in order to deliver on those dreams and making sure that those ambitions are fulfilled. So this is my fourth participation, I think, in the Fiscal Forum, and it's every time a renewed enjoyment. But if you remember, in the last few years, we have worked specifically on spending, we have worked specifically on revenues, and many of you have actually delivered on some major reforms that are beginning to seriously change the landscape and your ability to plan for the medium term. Now, some might argue that we should have started with the foundations, because when you build a house, you start with the foundations. But there was an element of urgency in dealing with the spending and the revenues in the last couple of years. Now, what I would like to do, and I know that this is going to be the topic of the day, is work on the foundations, and particularly the two building blocks that are essential for the foundations. Before I go into that, and because you have tempted me by referring to the current economic situations, I would like to just spend a little bit of time on where and how we see the economy, particularly in the region. And as is often the case with this part of the world, which has not yet completely recovered from the global financial crisis, as we all know that, we distinguish between the oil exporters and the oil importers. And I'll start with the latter. So for the oil importers, we see that growth has picked up, but is still below the pre-crisis levels. Fiscal deficits remain high, and public debt has risen rapidly, from 64% of GDP in 2008 to 85% of GDP a decade later. This is not specific to the region, by the way. When you go around the world, whether it's advanced or developing or emerging countries, you see that same phenomenon for many countries, which doesn't excuse it or does not give it legitimacy as a result, but it's not something that is specific. In nearly half of the countries that are oil importers in the region, the debt has actually exceeded 90% of GDP. Turning to the oil exporters, they have not fully recovered from the dramatic oil price shock of 2014. Now, my take is that at some stage we will have to forget that reference to 2014, because time moves on and prices evolve. But this was a bit of a sticking point in the course of the last few years. Modest growth continues, but the outlook, as you rightly said, Minister Altair, is highly uncertain, reflecting in part the need for countries to shift rapidly towards renewable energy over the next few decades, in line with the Paris Agreement. And with revenues down, fiscal deficits are only slowly declining, despite significant reforms on both spending and revenue sides, including the introduction in most of your countries of VAT and excise taxes. Now, all of that has led to a sharp increase in public debt from a low base, 13% of GDP in 2013, to 33% in 2018. Now, that's as we see the region. Now, clearly, we also need to be mindful of the demand that is addressed to the region. And at the global level, we are seeing a global expansion that is weakening and where risks are rising. We did update our forecast, and we presented those in Davos at the end of January. Luckily, things have not yet changed, but we had actually downgraded our forecast, which stood at 3.7% for this year, down to 3.5%. So that's where we see global growth for 2019, 3.5%, and for next year, 3.6%. I would like to add that those are small, 3.5 and 3.6%, when we look at the decimal. What we certainly see as rising are the risks. And Minister Altair, you mentioned some of them, and we certainly see the two key risks as, number one, the very difficult trade relationship and the ongoing trade negotiations between the United States and China, which is evolving literally by the day in terms of what the outcome, what the timetable, what the results will be. And of course, the financial tightening that clearly will have an impact on those countries that are heavily indebted, whether at sovereign, corporate or household levels, particularly when that debt is denominated in foreign currency. The other two aspects of risks that we see on the horizon is, number one, Brexit and how it is going to be resolved and what spillover effects it will have both in Europe but also beyond, particularly on the financial side, although that's probably the area where many memorandum of understandings and many arrangements have been agreed to between the parties, but also way beyond, because clearly, in addition to the learnings from what happens when a member of an economic unit decides to go, there will be economic spillovers from that outcome. And as you know, I'm often asked about that. I generally say that whatever the outcome will be detrimental to both the UK and Europe. Now, clearly there are outcomes that will be worse, and clearly the no-deal Brexit on the 29th of March would be the worst of all outcomes, but we all believe that comes what may, the outcome will be worse than the situation as we have it at the moment. The fourth risk that I would like to mention is one that is a risk. I'm not saying that it is materializing or likely to, but it's there on the horizon, and that is a slower slowdown of the Chinese economy. We know that the Chinese economy is due to slow down, and that is legitimate and was forecasted by us and anticipated by the Chinese authorities that have adjusted their policies accordingly. But it might be that as a result of the general trade frustration, I'll use a legal word to apply to that political crisis that we see in development, it could well be that this legitimate, anticipated, forecasted slowdown is slower than what was expected, which would have a bearing on all countries, given the size of the Chinese economy and the links that it has with many regions under the Belt and Road Initiative or other initiatives as well. So that's the situation as we see it. It's not as upbeat as we were a year ago, if you remember. And there are clearly big clouds on the horizon that we are seeing closer to shore. And it's one more reason why not turning to protectionism, and this is certainly not what we advocate, but this is a reason why we should be solid at home, all of us, and we should make sure that from a fiscal point of view, from a monetary point of view, the foundations are solid in case the winds pick up. So let me turn to the foundations, and I would like to talk about those two building blocks which you may sort of reflect upon and compare with what you have at home, what you wish you had, what you would like to discuss with your parliaments at some stage or elaborate. The first one is what we call a good fiscal framework. And by that I mean a set of laws, institutional arrangements and procedures that are needed to achieve a country's fiscal policy objectives. Such a framework generally allows a government to map out budgets not for next year, but over the medium term in a way that reflects clear, consistent and credible goals. We believe that there is scope to improve the fiscal framework in the region. Some of the weaknesses are short-termism and insufficient credibility. So let me turn to these two: short-termism, insufficient credibility. On short-termism, Given that inclusive and sustainable growth is an inherent medium-term goal, fiscal policy needs to be medium-term oriented as well. Focusing on the immediate horizon makes it harder to implement critical but longer-term reforms in such areas as tackling high public wage bills, designing effective social protection systems, and getting rid of harmful fuel subsidies. All those projects that are big projects for finance ministers require that you plan things over the course of time. It's not something that you can decide for the next 6 months or even for the next year. It means that fiscal policy amplifies rather than tames the waves of booms and busts, making it more difficult to achieve sustainable and inclusive growth. So to move away from that short-termism, clearly more medium-term, a more better anchored fiscal framework will be helpful. Turning now to fiscal credibility, which matters so much, not just for rating agencies, but for all. I'm referring to such factors as large amounts of spending that are kept off budget, and I'm referring to poor risk management. Across the region, it is common for sovereign wealth funds to directly finance projects bypassing the normal budget process. And some of you are annoyed about it because sometimes things get financed without even you really having control over that. State-owned enterprises in some countries have high levels of borrowing, again, often outside of budget. Addressing these fiscal risks would not only enhance budget credibility and transparency, but would help keep a lead on corruption. Budgetary credibility also calls for better risk management with a more comprehensive budget based on realistic forecasts. Now, the good news, I'm not just lecturing because of what we see around the world, but we're also observing what you do and what some of you have done recently. And there are some really good news because some of you are really strengthening their fiscal framework already, sometimes with our support and technical assistance, sometimes just, as a result of the efforts that you undertake. So let me give you some examples. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, Sudan, Qatar, and Lebanon have all set up macro fiscal units, a useful first step in strengthening the fiscal framework. Algeria has just recently adopted a new budget law with a strong medium-term orientation, and Bahrain has introduced a fiscal program designed to achieve balance over the medium term. Mauritania, Morocco, Jordan, and Lebanon are making great progress with medium-term public investment planning and execution. And Egypt now publishes a fiscal risk statement with its budget and produces an internal in-year budget risk assessment. The UAE, too, is rolling out a fiscal risk management project with IMF help and will produce its first fiscal stress test this year. So these are really good achievements, really. And of course, there is room for more to be done. And perhaps the oil exporters could decide to follow the examples and the standards set by other resource-rich countries, such as Chile, such as Norway, in using fiscal rules to protect key priorities, such as social spending from commodity price volatility. That's what they do. Now, strong fiscal frameworks also have important benefits. They form the basis for strong, sound debt management. They allow for better coordination between fiscal and monetary policies so that the two arms of macroeconomic management work together and not at cross purposes. Now let me turn to another topic which I believe is extremely relevant for finance ministers, and that's the good governance and transparency. And in this context, governance refers to the institutional frameworks and practices of the public sector. Strong institutions are crucial for legitimacy, for fostering a clearer understanding of policy objectives among citizens, enhancing their voice, and generating buy-in for fiscal policy. And as many of you know, weak institutions imply weak policy foundations. that could eventually crack and crumble, because there is inadequate public legitimacy and public accountability. And even worse, actually, these cracks could also let corruption creep in, and as we all know, corruption is actually the cancer of many, many societies. It feeds discord, disengagement, disillusionment, especially among the young people. You know, we look very carefully at some studies that are conducted and some surveys that are conducted of young people around the world. And the latest of such surveys that actually try to identify for young people what was their main concern. Was it job? Was it the environment? Was it, you know, name it. The big and foremost concern that came out across the world on a country-by-country basis was corruption. Young people have a clear view that corruption is actually poisoning the social contract of their societies. Actually, do you know that the word corruption comes both from Latin and Arabic? I'll give you the exact origin. So, from Latin, it really comes from the concept of rooting, breaking apart, disintegration. And in Arabic, it's the word fasad that also connotes the idea of rotting and coming undone. That's the etymology of corruption, mixture of Latin and Arabic. So, corruption is a great disruptor of fiscal policy. Because if you don't trust the tax system, if you don't know what is going to be, how money is going to be spent and who is going to spend it and for what purposes, then it makes it harder to raise revenue. Those revenues that, as we know, are critical for health, for education, and for those spendings that will help social protection. In addition to that, and we've seen that in many, many corners of the world, it's not specific, again, to this region, but it generally facilitates and encourages what we call the white elephant project. Those mammoth projects that are not necessarily needed, but that are very conducive to interesting kickback here and there and funny commissions that are not necessarily required nor relevant. This is really, as I said, not a regional issue, it's a global issue, one that is relevant for large and small countries, for advanced, emerging and developing countries alike. And as a result of that, it's not surprising that the IMF research found that weak governance and corruption are associated with significantly lower growth, lower investment, lower FDI and tax revenue, and higher inequality and exclusions. Not a great recipe for stability and sustainability, for sure. Specifically, we found in the research that we conducted that improving on an index of corruption and governance by moving from the bottom quarter to the average is associated with an increase in the investment to GDP ratio of 1.5 to 2% points and a bump up in annual GDP per capita growth by half a percentage point or more. We will have more analysis on that in a very specific way in the upcoming Fiscal Monitor, which will be released in April. So more to come, but very, very interesting findings. And the topic will be the fiscal cost of corruption and the role of fiscal institutions in that respect. So be aware, it's coming. So what is the solution to weak governance and corruption? Well, in our domain, which is the fiscal domain, it calls for heightened fiscal transparency, shining a light on all aspects of the budget and public accounts. And that would provide a more accurate position of fiscal position and prospects, the long-term cost of benefits of any policy changes, and the potential fiscal risks that might throw them off course. This region, like other regions, can make serious improvement in that respect. We know that this, now you might wonder, what's the point? I mean, in a way, this is comfortable, why would we bother? Well, it actually produces significant changes from your perspective as finance minister. And there is one example that Vitor quotes all the time because it is so striking. It is the example of Georgia. Georgia, in a matter of 5 years, managed to move its revenue from 12% of GDP to 25% of GDP. Can you imagine? In a matter of 5 years? Now, the measures they took were very harsh, very brutal, very sudden, and they kept at it. But you double your revenue in 5 years? It's not bad, actually. And it can be used for good purposes. Now, I want to mention that the IMF has been stepping up its engagement in all areas of governance and corruption. Last year, some of you probably know, we put in place a new framework predicated on a more systematic, even-handed, and effective and candid engagement on these issues. So it's not a warning because it's something that the board of the IMF has approved unanimously. But in each and every Article 4 that we will be conducting from now on, whenever it is macro-critical, we will pay special attention to the institutions, to the frameworks, to the ways in which corruption can creep in and can actually paralyze the economy of a country. And we will be engaging a dialogue with all of you in that respect. With better governance, we can replace the disintegration of corruption with the integration of all those productive in the economy. We can replace facade with Islah, reforms to set things right, to reconcile people with one another, and to produce a social contract that is more sustainable and durable. So, I don't want to take more time. I wanted to really make the point very clear that those fiscal foundations, in our view, are critical. The fiscal framework, on the one hand, and the good governance and transparency on the other hand. It is not going to hamper you, it is going to help you do a better job for your country. And we will continue to be available, be that with technical assistance or with policy advice, but just expect us to be more incisive in those two respects, because we believe that it will be helpful to all. I thank you very much for your attention.
شكرا مدام لاغارد على هذه الكلمة الشاملة المعبرة. شكرا على المشاركة والتواجد والحرص على التعاون مع المؤسسات المالية في المنطقة. كما ذكرت، نعم، إصلاح محل فساد. فقط أنا أعدتها لأنها قد لا تكون واضحة كما ذكرتيها باللغة العربية. الآن بدون الإطالة ننتقل إلى الجلسة الأولى مع الأخ جهاد زعور الذي سيغطي التطورات الاقتصادية الكلية، والأخ جهاد غني عن التعريف، فليتفضل.
I have something. I really apologize because I expressed gratitude to Vitor and I did not recognize Jihad, and Jihad needs no recognition because he's your brother. He's my brother as well, but he has been instrumental in setting this up. So Jihad, apologies. You were sitting too far away. That's why I couldn't recognize you.
Thank you very much. صباح الخير. اسمحوا لي في البداية أن أشكر أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، وأشكر أيضا دولة الإمارات على رعاية هذا المؤتمر، وأشكر معالي الوزير عبيد الطاير على ترأسه جلسة الافتتاح. والشكر موصول أيضا إلى زملائنا وأصدقائنا في صندوق النقد العربي الذي نتشارك معهم في عدد كبير من برامج التعاون والدراسات المشتركة. سوف أنتقل إلى اللغة الإنجليزية لعرض التطورات الاقتصادية في المنطقة مع التركيز على محاور التي تعني إدارة المالية العامة. Therefore, I will start with laying the ground of what is in the global outlook that matters to the region. What are the key factors that will affect the economic outlook for our countries in 2019? Then I will pivot to the near-term fiscal vulnerabilities. What are the developments that will have an impact on the fiscal performance for this year? Where are the weaknesses? Which will help me move to the second dimension. What are the structural fiscal issues? The purpose of the forum this year, as Managing Director mentioned in her introductory remarks, is to work on the foundations. Where are we in terms of having the right foundations when it comes to fiscal management and how we can gear fiscal policies toward larger and more important policy objectives. And then I will conclude with some takeaways and few messages. In terms of global outlook, Managing Director in her introductory remark stressed on the recent update of the World Economic Outlook that is showing that growth is weakening somewhat faster than it was anticipated in last October. And growth is now projected to slow down from 3.7 in 2018 to 3.5 in 2019 and 3.6% the year after in 2020. This weakening is driven largely by the downward revisions in advanced economy, where growth is set to slow from 2.3% last year to 2% this year and 1.7% next year. I think what matters most for the region is the outlook of key trade partners, and here mainly the euro area, where growth is projected to slow down due to some economic challenges in some of the key European countries like Germany, Italy, and France, the prospect of the UK Brexit, and also, on the other hand, the slight slowdown in growth in the US. In addition to that, what matters to the region is the matrix of risks that currently are tilted to the downside. Financing conditions, the evolution of the commodity prices and the uncertainties. I will address this issue immediately after that. Trade tensions in a region that is suffering, as we will see, from the decline in trade. Addition to that, geopolitical risks and some policy uncertainties with the Brexit and onward. The second dimension that is important in defining the outlook for the region is the oil sector. Clearly, in the oil sector, compared to our latest outlook in October, the forecasts are showing that oil price is going down and the volatility of oil price is getting higher. As we see in the left-hand chart in this slide, the prospect of oil price that were, I would say, more bullish at the end of last year are going down. And then we project that oil price will be, for this year, slightly slower than $60 a barrel, while, for example, in October, we were projecting the oil price as 69 and 64 for 2020. The other dimension is the volatility in oil price that is affecting policy making, and in particular in the oil exporting countries, in a context where the implementation of the OPEC-led agreement led to, I would say, stabilization in the oil production. Therefore, growth globally has been revised downward. The volatility and the slowing in the oil price is the second dimension that affects the outlook for this year. The third one is the financial conditions. And here I think it's easy to see that there is tightening in the global financial conditions for all parts of the global economy, EMs as well as also advanced economy. And the tightening has reflected in some outflow in emerging market, and the Arab countries were also faced in the last quarter of last year some outflows. Yet the improvement in the financial market at the beginning of this year is reflected into reinforcing the interest in emerging market bonds, while at the same time spreads are still higher than they were last year. How all these developments affect the outlook for this year for the region, we still see, in fact, a dichotomy, two trends. One is related to oil exporting countries, and the other one is related to oil importing countries. But clearly, the recovery is subdued, and it's not enough to address the structural issues that the region is facing. In the oil exporting countries, we have revised our outlook this year by 1% downward, and this is mainly due to the decline in oil price. But the good news here, as you see in the graph, in the left-hand side of the slide, that the growth in non-oil sector, or the contribution of the non-oil sector, is growing. And this is good news. It shows that gradually the diversification strategies are paying off. For oil importers, we didn't change our outlook for this year, yet the level of growth that is converging with emerging markets, around 3.7% this year and the same rate next year, is still not enough to address the long-term issues, especially on creating the right level of unemployment. The region needs, at least on the oil importing side, 5.5 to 6% constant growth in order for it to reduce gradually the level of unemployment. The level of unemployment is at 9%, but yet for the next 5 years, we need to create 24 to 25 million additional jobs. And therefore, with the current level of growth, it's very difficult to reach this target, especially for the youth, where the level of unemployment exceeds 24 to 25%. The other aspect that is always, in fact, present in the outlook for the region is the regional risks that we know them, both on the geopolitical side, the issue of refugees and conflict-related issues, as well as also policy uncertainty, specifically in countries where the level of growth is low and the amount of adjustment needed added an additional burden on social stability. Let me move to the other macro dimension, which is the external sector. And here in the external sectors, as you see, vulnerabilities are rising because of the global outlook. The slowdown in growth of trade is affecting the export of the region. The region benefited from the global recovery between 2016 to 2018, and we see in the graph that export went up, yet starting 2019 with the slowdown, the growth of export is receding. The second important element that it's important to stress on is the impact of the volatility in oil price on the external sector. Definitely for oil exporting countries, the volatility in oil price has an immediate impact on their external sector. And for example, a decline in $10 in the price of barrel could have an impact on the external balance, something between 6 to 10% of GDP, which is an issue not only for ministers of finance, but also for the central bank governors to address the impact of the volatility in oil price on the liquidity management. Let me now turn and focus more on the fiscal side in terms of fiscal vulnerabilities. And here I divided the presentation into the short-term issues and the structural issues. First of all, on the aggregate level, we have to recognize and to encourage countries who in the past has implemented certain number of fiscal adjustment measures, and both in oil exporting countries as well as also in oil importing countries in the last 3 years, the resolve and the effort that were introduced paid off by improving the level of the fiscal balance. Yet, given the high level of debt that I will touch upon in the next slide, the situation is still facing high level of vulnerability, be it in terms of fiscal deficit as well as also in the terms of debt. And as we see in the graph on the right-hand side of the slide, countries where the level of deficit and the level of debt exceeds 60% is still, I would say, the majority of countries of the region. More specifically on the debt, like other parts of the world, as the managing director mentioned in her introduction, the last decade was a decade where we saw an increase in the level of debt. Both oil exporting countries and oil importing countries in the last 10 years witnessed an increase in debt. For example, for the oil exporters, debt grew by 24%, while for oil importing countries, the level of growth exceeded 34 to 35% in 10 years. And this, in fact, is weighing on the ability of those countries to have more fiscal stability and to use fiscal policy as one of the main avenues for inclusion and for addressing social issues. At the country level, if you take most of the countries in the last 10 years witnessed a surge in the level of debt. The blue bar is 2008 and 2018 is the red bar. And you see most of the countries are today have a level of debt that exceed 60%, which is what we consider is the acceptable or the ceiling that emerging countries should have in terms of debt. How this affected the ability of managing their fiscal situation. First of all, in terms of financing risks are rising as we see because of the high level of debt and also because of the short maturity of the debt. And therefore, when we look at the graph, both for oil importing countries in green or oil exporting countries in red, we see, for example, the gross financing need for large part of countries exceed 10% in 2019, which when we combine it with the fact that big portion of the debt is external and externally financed, and part of it is market-based, it raises the risks and put fiscal management at stress for ministers of finance. Also, to illustrate the importance or the impact of the volatility in oil price, as we see in oil exporting countries, the same impact, a decline in oil price by $10 the barrel compared to the baseline, would have a big, I would say, impact on the financing need of countries in the region. And if you look at the right-hand side of the slide, the fiscal break-even price is currently above what we expect. And therefore, there is some optimism in the projections of the oil price for 2019 and 2020, which in fact could affect the ability of countries to finance their need this year and next year. And this in fact translates into the cost of borrowing. As you see in red, several countries in the region will incur additional interest expenses. And this is due to the composition of debt as well as also the evolution of spreads in the emerging market. Only few countries like Egypt, for example, and Morocco, and this is the result of the adjustment and effort that was done over the last couple of years that has reduced the amount of debt and also improved the fiscal sustainability. The other element that I think is very important to mention here, which is the spread structure. And here we see that, in fact, few countries saw improvement in their spreads. For example, like Qatar, Saudi, and Kuwait. But some others, like Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia, and Lebanon, had some widening in their spreads. And this is, in fact, calls for more active debt management, and this is one of the themes that our forum today will focus on. Therefore, strengthening the fiscal framework building strong debt management capacity. Those are positive elements in addressing this fiscal risk. Let me move now and very quickly to the structural fiscal issues. Clear, the fiscal tool is not currently playing fully its role in terms of providing government to use fiscal for broader public policies. When we look at the structure of spending, on the right-hand side of the chart, the composition of spending is still showing that the portion of current expenditure is relatively high when compared to emerging markets, as well as also when compared to OECD countries. And mainly in few items like wages, interest burden, especially for the oil importers. Therefore, currently, whenever there is a need to change the fiscal mix, we are using the reduction in capital spending as the adjustment variable, which for the medium term and the long term, as Managing Director mentioned in her introductory remarks, the fiscal policy are very much skewed toward short-term objectives that is making them pro-cyclical and not able to create additional fiscal space and maneuverability in fiscal management. And this also clear when we look at the structure of the revenues. On the revenue side, when we look at the revenues, we still see that the portion of revenues that is coming from the corporate sector is relatively high, and also the breadth of the tax system is narrow, which means that the other tax revenues are thin compared to other parts of the world. And when we look at the progressivity and the equity of the tax system, which is reflected in the graph on the right-hand side, we see that the portion of indirect taxes is still relatively high, and then the progressivity of the tax system can be improved. Therefore, clearly, and this is a medium-term objective, it is important to look at the structure of fiscal management in order to make expenditure more, I would say, flexible, giving room to create fiscal space, to reallocate spending to the right targets, and for countries to build buffers, especially those who need it, those who have high level of debt. The other important dimension is the strengths of the fiscal institution, which is also one of the topics that the Fiscal Forum will focus on later today. In terms of indices of how we measure the efficiency, the effectiveness of fiscal institutions, both in terms of revenue administration, in terms of fiscal transparency, the region still have improvements to go. And we believe that this is one of the avenues of effort that jointly we could put together in the coming years in order to lift up the level of performance of our fiscal institutions, to make them more efficient, more effective, rebuild trust between citizen and the state, because an important portion of rebuilding trust comes from how citizens perceive the way we manage our fiscal institution. The second avenue is technology and adopting digital tools, modernizing the way we manage our fiscal administration, improve the quality of service. This is also an avenue, and in this dimension, countries of the region still have way to go in a region where the level of penetration in terms of mobile technology is still is there, and therefore we can build on a technology infrastructure that would allow us to improve both the quality of services and increase the level of transparency. To sum up very quickly, the global conditions are affecting the region, and the region has to be focused on addressing three key implications of the global outlook. One is growth. Growth is definitely affecting the growth outlook of the region, especially in terms of trade, and in particular with the key trading partners. Oil price. Oil price is going to be an issue for us this year in terms of how to manage its volatility and what would be the impact of a weak oil revenues due to the slowing down of oil prices. Financing conditions are very important for most of the countries in the region, in particular those who have high level of debt and those who resort to market to get to finance their deficits. The second key message is, despite the fiscal effort that is commendable over the last few years, that showed an improvement in the primary balance between 2 to 4% on average in countries of the region, still because of the inherited vulnerabilities, especially the high level of debt, we still need to do more. But it's very important to do it with a different mix. The mix has to allow fiscal tool to be more growth friendly, both on the expenditure side and on the revenue side, and to value further the importance of inclusion, addressing social protection, and allow the fiscal to play a greater role in terms of social stability. Some policy directions need to intensify the consolidation and to rebuild buffers. As we saw, the outlook is very uncertain, and therefore this is the time to rebuild buffers and to create resiliency in the short term. And it's very important for that to strengthen the debt management framework. The composition of the fiscal policy need to be geared toward more growth outlook. This is a way to show citizens that fiscal is the tool to address their issues. Countries have already initiated a certain number of reforms on, for example, the subsidy management, as well as also dealing with the size of the public sector. Those are reforms in the right track. On the other hand, it's very important to make also the tax system, I would say, better in terms of showing more equitability by reducing and lowering exemptions, improve progressivity, and widen the tax net in order to make sure that everybody is participating in the effort. Strengthening fiscal institution is the last but not the least. It's very important, and we see it in the indicators. And here we have a way to go. In terms of public investment management, this will help increase the multiplier effect of public spending and also increase the quality of confidence that citizens have in the state. Take advantage of new technologies to do leapfrog modernization of fiscal management, and adopt the now
Our world is on the cusp of transformative change, with technology and digital disruption reshaping economic, social, and cultural environments, giving us more power at our fingertips than entire generations before. Technology has the potential for groundbreaking findings in science, healthcare, transport, and education, expanding our presence beyond Earth, going where civilization has never been before, ushering in the fourth industrial revolution at a breathless pace, connecting humanity and challenging existing paradigms, giving birth to a new sustainable world, free of conflict, hunger, and disease. We have the power to create the future we've always dreamed of. How do we make this a reality? The answers will be revealed.
Will change society for the future
through a constructive global dialogue.
Digitization of life.
Addressing the most pressing challenges of our time.
We can shape change.
At the World Government Summit.
العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات. العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية، اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات.
Our world is on the cusp of transformative change. With technology and digital disruption reshaping economic, social, and cultural environments, giving us more power at our fingertips than entire generations before. Technology has the potential for groundbreaking findings in science, healthcare, transport, and education, expanding our presence beyond Earth, going where civilization has never been before, ushering in the fourth industrial revolution at a breathless pace, connecting humanity and challenging existing paradigms, giving birth to a new sustainable world, free of conflict, hunger, and disease. We have the power to create the future we've always dreamed of. How do we make this a reality? The answers will be revealed
Will change society for the future.
through a constructive global dialogue,
Digitization of life.
addressing the most pressing challenges of our time
We can shape change.
at the World Government Summit.
العالم على عتبة تغييرات جذرية. اقتصاد جديد، بيئة اجتماعية وثقافية متغيرة، واقع يمنحنا قوة لم تحظى بها الأجيال السابقة. تمتلك التكنولوجيا القدرة على تحقيق نتائج ثورية في قطاعات العلوم والعناية الصحية والنقل والتعليم، ومعها سيتخطى وجودنا عالمنا إلى عوالم لم تطلها أي حضارة بعد. ابتكارات تقودنا نحو الثورة الصناعية الرابعة ونحو مجتمع إنساني مترابط يتحدى الأزمات الحالية، وسنشهد ولادة عالم جديد مستدام، عالم بلا صراعات ومجاعات وأمراض. كيف سنتمكن من بناء مستقبل لطالما حلمنا به؟ سيتم الإجابة عبر حوار عالمي بناء
will change society for the future.
Digitization of life.
يناقش أبرز تحديات هذا العصر،
We can shape change.
وذلك في القمة العالمية للحكومات.
Our world is on the cusp of transformative change. With technology and digital disruption reshaping economic, social, and cultural environments, giving us more power at our fingertips than entire generations before. Technology has the potential for groundbreaking findings in science, healthcare, transport, and education, expanding our presence beyond Earth, going where civilization has never been before, ushering in the fourth industrial revolution at a breathless pace, connecting humanity and challenging existing paradigms, giving birth to a new sustainable world, free of conflict, hunger, and disease. We have the power to create the future we've always dreamed of. How do we make this a reality? The answers will be revealed.
Will change society for the future
Through a constructive global dialogue,
Digitization of life.
addressing the most pressing challenges of our time
We can shape change.
at the World Government Summit. world is on the cusp of transformative change. With technology and digital disruption reshaping economic, social, and cultural environments, giving us more power at our fingertips than entire generations before. Technology has the potential for groundbreaking findings in science, healthcare, transport, and education, expanding our presence beyond Earth, going where civilization has never been before, ushering in the fourth industrial revolution at a breathless pace, connecting humanity and challenging existing paradigms, giving birth to a new sustainable world, free of conflict, hunger, and disease. We have the power to create the future we've always dreamed of. How do we make this a reality? The answers will be revealed.
Will change society for the future
through a constructive global dialogue.
Digitization of life.
Addressing the most pressing challenges of our time.
We can shape change.
At the World Government Summit. Our world is on the cusp of transformative change. With technology and digital disruption reshaping economic, social, and cultural environments, giving us more power at our fingertips than entire generations before. Technology has the potential for groundbreaking findings in science, healthcare, transport, and education, expanding our presence beyond Earth, going where civilization has never been before, ushering in the fourth industrial revolution at a breathless pace, connecting humanity and challenging existing paradigms, giving birth to a new sustainable world, free of conflict, hunger, and disease. We have the power to create the future we've always dreamed of. How do we make this a reality? The answers will be revealed.
Will change society for the future
through a constructive global dialogue.
Digitization of life.
Addressing the most pressing challenges of our time.
We can shape change.
At the World Government Summit. Our world is on the cusp of transformative change. With technology and digital disruption reshaping economic, social, and cultural environments, giving us more power at our fingertips than entire generations before. Technology has the potential for groundbreaking findings in science, healthcare, transport, and education, expanding our presence beyond Earth, going where civilization has never been before, ushering in the fourth industrial revolution at a breathless pace, connecting humanity and challenging existing paradigms, giving birth to a new sustainable world, free of conflict, hunger, and disease. We have the power to create the future we've always dreamed of. How do we make this a reality? The answers will be revealed.
Will change society for the future
through a constructive global dialogue.
Digitization of life.
Addressing the most pressing challenges of our time.
We can shape.
And the great coordination between the IMF.
Good morning. My name is Maya Hajej, and I'll be your MC for today. The World Government Summit, in its fourth edition in 2016, introduced a special track to focus on the SDGs and their implementation. The World Government Summit 2017 discussed the role of science, technology, and innovation in achieving the SDGs and explored STI-driven solutions to accelerate the implementation of these goals. The 2018 In Action event focused on partnerships to support innovation for the future of the SDGs, where the launch of the SDGs Global Councils came. The councils met during the SDGs in Action event to set their vision and initial plans for their respective councils for the following 2 years. This year's program will feature a combination of plenary sessions and the Global Council's breakout session, which fosters partnerships and cooperation among the council members in their respective fields to support implementation of the specific goal. Allow me to welcome His Excellency Abdullah Nasser Lota, the Director General of UAE's Federal Competitiveness and Statistics Authority and Vice Chair of UAE's National Committee of SDGs for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Maya. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sabah al-khair in Arabic, good morning. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome you all to the UAE and to this session on SDGs in action. We are indeed privileged to have here with us Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Amina has been instrumental in bringing about the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. A warm welcome also to the chairs of the Sustainable Development Goals Councils. For those of you who have traveled to the UAE from outside, welcome to the land of peace, prosperity, and positive coexistence. I am inspired to see such a diverse group of leaders from all sectors here today. Today, not only we have ahead of us a serious and thoughtful deliberations addressing humanity's most pressing challenges, but it is also a day of celebration of great efforts towards the SDGs. We have thought leaders, including Amina Mohammed, and later today, we will be joined by Professor Jeffrey Sachs, whose work in pursuit of the SDGs has made significant contributions to humanity. Today, we honor and celebrate both of them, and we also shine a light on the UAE's government entities who are leading by example and have taken a collaborative approach towards achieving the SDGs. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on the world today, we see a world that is paradoxical, unequal, and with multiple realities. We live in the fourth industrial revolution, a time of unprecedented technological advancement, a time of blockchain technology, gene editing, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and space tourism. Yet, this revolution coincides with significant economical, political, social, and environmental challenges across the world. On many fronts, we face watershed moments, catastrophic climate change, shifts in geopolitics, conflicts, poverty, hunger, gender inequality, unemployment, pressures on accessing quality education and quality health, reduced safety and security for far too many people. The global community is facing unfairness. The global economy is highly uneven. The United Nations 2018 report, Progress Towards the SDGs, notes that despite advances in reducing poverty, 1 in every 10 people still live below the poverty line of $2 per day. Also, after a period of decline, the world hunger, sadly, appears to be on the rise again. Undernourishment increased to 815 people, at least at the latest count. The Earth's climate is changing at a rapid rate, with enormous consequences. It is displacing more people than ever before. It is threatening our planet's biodiversity and water and food supplies. Conflict, drought, and disasters linked to climate change are among the key factors causing global hunger. Unsafe drinking water and poor sanitation continue to contribute to global mortality in large numbers. We continue to struggle with health solutions for the bulk of the world's population, and we have not yet been able to find effective solutions for diseases such as malaria, TB, and HIV/AIDS. The challenges also pose significant hurdles for the achievement of the 2030 agenda. Having said that, we must look ahead. We must strive for more, and we must continue having hope. The framework for the SDGs provides us with a powerful common language to write another positive story, to shape a better and a more equitable world. The 17 goals that include things like ending poverty or fighting hunger or decreasing inequality or addressing climate change or improving access to health and education, providing social protections and building strong institutions are all complex and also highly interconnected. They can only be achieved when all the society steps up and works together. Government, civil society, academia, private sector, and communities need to work collaboratively with a sense of shared responsibility. And with this shared responsibility comes the need for effective leadership to achieve the SDGs. As I look around today, I can only see leaders. And as leaders, we must engage all stakeholders in the process. We should seek to create opportunities, environments, and systems that encourage constructive solutions. We should also seek to have a vision so that these global goals continue to be pursued over the long term. Here in the UAE, sustainable development is at the heart of the country's vision for the future. We have adopted collaborative, whole-of-the-government approach towards achieving the SDGs. To accomplish this, 2 years ago, the United Arab Emirates government created the National Committee on SDGs towards effective implementation. The committee includes 17 federal government entities and is chaired by Her Excellency Reem bint Ibrahim Al-Hashmi, Minister of State for International Cooperation. Last year, the committee established an advisory council of private sector and a youth advisory council to engage these key partners in creating solutions. This is a great evidence of how serious our country is when it comes to meeting the 232 SDG indicators. Another pillar of our approach is the drive for data related to SDGs. I cannot stress enough the need for partners to produce quality, accessible, open, timely, and disaggregated data to help us in our effort for evidence-based decision-making towards SDGs. In that context, soon we will be launching the 3rd edition of the Sdg Report, the UAE 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This data-driven report highlights the UAE progress in the 2030 Agenda indicators, and it also features actions as well as implementation challenges. The report features the fact that the UAE leads the region in the SDG Index, reflecting strong performance in a number of goals, such as global partnerships, industry, innovation, infrastructure, peace, justice, and strong institutions. But we're not satisfied. We are committed to support others in achieving their SDGs. In 2017, the UAE was recognized as the leading donor of development aid by the OECD. The UAE's foreign aid policy focuses on supporting various SDGs, including SDG 1, no poverty, and SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, and supporting human development overall. I am proud to see here leading UAE donor agencies who are partners in making this possible. Ladies and gentlemen, our gathering today gives me immense hope. Your presence here is a testament to the fact that at no other time in history we have been so connected and so empowered to act. By taking leadership and working in alignment and in common purpose, together we can work to make a difference in humanity's most pressing challenges. Together we can ensure that truly no one is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Today's keynote speaker is the current Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and was Minister of Environment of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She has also served as Special Advisor to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and was instrumental in bringing about the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, including the Sustainable Development Goals. Please welcome Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations.
Thank you, Abdullah. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates and colleagues, and let me give a big shout out for my Minister of Environment, because that's my former constituency, and so I'm really happy to see you here, but especially to two amazing ladies, the Ministers for Wellbeing and Happiness and the Minister of Education. And this wouldn't be complete if I didn't acknowledge two other ladies that I see in the audience today, our leaders in the UN, Irina Bokova and Helen Clark. Welcome. I'm delighted to be with you at this SDGs Action event. The SDGs continue to be our blueprint for a sustainable future. We're all here because we're committed to bringing about the reality of the 2030 Agenda to life and ensuring that we live up to the shared ambitions and the promises that we set out in September 2015. If anything, our world has become even more complex since then, and our challenge is an opportunity to work better together. Every day we see the growing dangers of climate change, the growing risks of rising inequalities, the growing drumbeat of hateful rhetoric and xenophobia, and the growing challenges brought about by mass movement of peoples. All of this and more make the 2030 Agenda our shared roadmap of a people-centered and planet-sensitive future for everyone, everywhere, much more critical than ever. I'm pleased that the Sustainable Development Goals in Action has become a critical feature of the World Government Summit. You help bring together stakeholders to examine key challenges and opportunities in implementing the SDGs, and also to identify potential innovative solutions and approaches to financing the development agenda. The good news is that we see the momentum of a movement to embrace the SDGs from all levels of government and society today. But we also know that there is more to the story. At the current pace, the world is off track from achieving the 2030 Agenda, and that is why I very much welcome your action-oriented focus on the importance of leadership in achieving the SDGs. The SDGs still remain a beacon of hope. Properly addressed, they will be the transformation that is required for development to take hold and to benefit all. Ensuring progress for people, planet, prosperity, peace and partnerships that really do leave no one behind. While in many countries progress is being made, sadly, in many other parts of the world, we are beginning to see some regression to commitments. Delivering on the SDGs will require leadership, transformation and inclusive leadership. Leadership that was on full display when heads of state and governments adopted these historic and far-reaching goals in 2015. Leadership today is going to require us to take tough decisions that will demand an end to the business as usual. It will call on us to move out of those comfort zones and embrace innovative ways of working, thinking, and leading from the front. Many of you here understand that, with many unparalleled leaders in the field in this audience today. So let me perhaps take advantage and zero in on 5 key areas that I think will help in the discussion. First, that we need to step up the commitment to shared experiences, tools, and report on progress, the good and the not so good, learning lessons and not seeing them as failures. At the global level, the UN High-Level Political Forum is an important platform for sharing experiences, lessons learned, ideas and knowledge, and for making the necessary connections between people working on the various parts of the SDGs. Each year, through the voluntary national reviews, member states have presented their assessment of SDG progress, providing a stock-taking of SDG implementation and showcasing political leadership and the momentum in support of the agenda. We must continue to make the most of these platforms that provide robust data and evidence to identify gaps and mobilize actions to accelerate transformational change. We must also do this in a timely manner. The current time lags that we see in data will not help make the case for timely investment that is needed for targeted interventions. The High-Level Political Forum Summit this September is going to be a key moment, providing the global community with our first stocktake of global progress towards implementing the SDGs. We're encouraging all countries to actively engage in the preparations of the High-Level Political Forum this year and invite them to engage at the highest political level in September, which incidentally also includes 5 really important issues that will be discussed in other summits: the Climate Action Summit, the Health Summit, the Financing for Development, and the Samoa Pathway, which really shines a light on those countries that are left furthest behind. Second, we need to do more to ensure effective, inclusive, and accountable public institutions. By that, we mean institutions built on strong and transformational leadership at the local, national, and global levels. We mean a public service that is built on trust, integrity, transparency, and accountability. The vicious cycle that leads to poverty and inequality is often connected to a lack of access to public services, inadequate capacities, non-inclusive institutions, and poor governance. This goes beyond improved service delivery to ensuring that all citizens are enabled to fully realize their basic rights to education, health, water, sanitation, and the list does go on. This means that we must step up our efforts to ensure that our citizens, especially our women, our girls, and the youth, are given a seat at the table and included in the shaping and implementing of our development aspirations. Only then will we be able to capitalize on this crucial opportunity of transformational change. Third, we need to strengthen the commitment to national and local level ownership. Heads of state and government are essential in guiding SDG implementation at national and subnational levels. In many countries, effective leadership is bringing encouraging progress. SDGs are being incorporated into national constitutions and development plans, but there is more systematic coordination across sectors, ministries, departments at the lowest levels of government. A whole-of-government approach is increasingly no longer simply a buzzword. We live in an era of seismic changes in our demographics, in the way in which our communities are shaped, in the way in which we use our natural resources. Cities, local governments, authorities, and public servants, mayors, can and must be powerful drivers of economic, social, and environmental transformation. Indeed, local government networks around the world are taking important steps to bring the 2030 Agenda closer to people. We look forward to the Local Action for Commitments Forum on the margins of the High-Level Political Forum Summit this year, and to see all those meetings that we have here today in the different in different platforms that we have inform what we have in September. Fourth, we need to boost support for multi-stakeholder partnerships, notably leveraging and harnessing the contributions from civil society organizations, our academia, and the private sector. To put it simply, in addition to a whole-of-government approach, we need a whole-of-society engagement to build effective and sustainable partnerships and networks for action. This will result in many gains that the individual and collective lives of our people that will have a difference made in them. For example, more and more businesses today are aligning their strategies with the SDGs and assisting governments in driving national implementation for climate action. Across the globe, the private sector is galvanizing its efforts in the 2030 Agenda and connecting the SDGs with innovative business solutions in agriculture, nutrition, water, energy, and a whole lot more. Through investments conducive to achieving the SDGs, businesses and their leaderships can create jobs and empower, more especially, our women. They can boost education with relevant skill sets and embrace more responsible patterns of consumption and production. They can contribute to a pattern of growth that ensures the protection of our environment and preservation of our planet, and support the stable societies that in the end deter a lot of the violent extremism that we see in our world today. And of course, they are critical to helping tackle many of the underlying causes of displacement, like climate change. There is a growing interest in sustainable investment and innovative instruments, including social impact investments. The financial sector can harness this movement to drive change in the way that the private sector operates, improving disclosure of social and environmental impacts, and placing greater emphasis on long-term sustainable investment and development. Fifth, and fundamentally, we must do more to harness the potential of innovation and the power of our restive youth. From technological innovations to new agricultural practices, young leaders are accelerating SDG implementation across the globe and finding new approaches to age-old development challenges. In Kenya, for instance, young leaders have harnessed solar power to provide irrigation kits and cold storage units to smallholder farmers, thereby significantly increasing their productivity. Innovation at all levels, including by leveraging new technologies, is essential to our quest to implement the SDGs in a sustainable manner. Mobile banking, for example, has become a fast, inexpensive, and convenient tool enabling millions of customers, especially our women in rural areas around the globe, to benefit from previously inaccessible financial services. The SDG Global Councils, for example, are bringing together innovative solutions and mobilizing the resources to implement the SDGs. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, 2019 is a milestone year for the first stocktake of the SDGs. It must be a year of leadership. It must be a year of sustainable engagement. It must be a year of accelerated action and concrete results in the lives of people. I'd like to thank the World Bank and the OECD for their support in this journey. And thank you once again for your leadership, Abdullah and the team. Let's keep working together to ensure that the promises of 2030 Agenda are a reality in people's lives. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for staying with us on stage. We have a few announcements to make. Today, we proudly launch the third edition of the Sdg Report, which highlights the UAE's progress in the 2030 Agenda. This data-focused report features emblematic actions as well as implementation challenges in the UAE. I invite you all to pick up a copy of the report, and we welcome your feedback and stories. When the Youth Advisory Council on SDG was announced in October last year, over 600 young people applied and went through a rigorous process of interviews, evaluations, and assessments. Today, we are happy to share with you the outcome of that journey. Please join me in welcoming on stage His Excellency Director General of the UAE Youth Authority, Said al-Nadari, and with him, the Youth Council members. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We would also like to make a special recognition in this day to a group of organizations that have immensely contributed to supporting other countries to achieve sustainability, starting with Abu Dhabi Development Fund, the Big Heart Foundation, Dar al-Bir, Dubai Cares, Dubai Charity Association, International Humanitarian City, Khalifa bin Zayed Foundation, Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, a humanitarian and charity establishment, Noor Dubai, Sharjah Charity International, Sharjah Charity House, and Suqya.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are very proud to partner with the UAE in this ministerial panel. We have a great lineup, and we'll hear some of the successful practices from different countries on implementing the SDGs. I wanted to thank the UAE for its leadership, for convening the global councils. We see really great potential in these councils, and including in the future, linking this to capacity building exercises that can really make a difference around the world. And we see that it's very, very fitting that those councils were launched at the World Government Summit, because more and more realize that governance is a great enabler of SDG implementation. As DSG Amina Mohammed has said, is a sine qua non condition for successful SDG implementation. And when we look at governance at the OECD, we think of a broad range of issues that includes, for instance, the coordination and planning tools. That includes the consultation mechanisms to reach out to different stakeholders in society, but also the use of governance tools like the budget, the effective use of budgetary tools to understand the trade-offs and also to accelerate the move to achieving the SDGs, be it on the gender equality, be it on greening the economy. They're very, very important tools that we can use. Procurement is another major tool that can be used strategically, regulatory tools, and of course, integrity policies. As DSG Mohammed has mentioned, very, very important that we also think of this as in the context of the SDGs. So the message I wanted to send to you is the OECD is very much engaged with our member countries. Is a universal agenda. Everybody signed up to it. So we are engaged with our member countries, with our partner countries, to support the UN and working with other international organizations like the World Bank in SDG implementation. Hopefully at the HLPF in New York in September, we will be able to announce some concrete measures with our partners in the UAE and the UN, so we can really support concretely SDG implementation on the ground. So thank you very much looking forward to our ministers in the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us invite our ministerial panel's moderator, Mr. John Defterios, on stage to welcome his guests and introduce their session, where we will hear about best practices and new and innovative ideas that could be adopted by governments.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, come on, let's go. It's always good to get support from friends in the front row. Dr. Mohideen, nice to see you again. It's very fitting because the Deputy Secretary General was suggesting, and Marcos did the same, that was in 2016 at the World Government Summit where we sat down, and I can't believe it was that recently that we had quite a robust debate as how do we capture the information to be able to measure the progress of the SDGs. If we look at different countries around the world, are we comparing data like for like? You remember the debate that we had, and people were saying, I'm not sure if I'm able to capture and compare. So the collaboration between the WGS and the OECD has proven in a short period of time we're at least using the same measurements or yardsticks to say how are we getting from here to 2030. Now we have 3 country examples today. It's excellent because they have a common thread, if you will. It's Lebanon, Spain, and Argentina, which I think is fascinating because they're all dealing with their own economic challenges today. So if you have your own economic and budgetary challenges, how do you get from here to 2030 and say, I did the best thing I could do to get us to those goals? It's an absolutely critical question. And as the emerging markets editor for CNN, I don't think we can overlook the fact that we're 10 years into an economic cycle. It's been stretched because of some of the economic policies we've seen from the United States and other countries around the world with monetary stimulus, but we can't think that this is going to continue unabated, if you will, to 2030. There will be economic challenges, and we have to say, how important are the SDGs, and how do we fit an overall strategy in the road going forward? It's great to see our Minister of Environment here, Minister of Happiness here, and I saw our Minister of AI also. I think it goes to show us how the different ministries here, with very young leaders, are making sure this stays at the forefront of the agenda here in the UAE. So I congratulate you on that. Let's bring up, and we can give a round of applause at the end to our three panelists. First off, Ghassan Hasbani, Deputy Prime Minister of Lebanon. He'll be sitting right next to me in the center here. Her Excellency Cristina Galak, High Commissioner for the 2030 Agenda of Spain. Welcome. And probably our third panelist, who has one of the longest flights coming from Argentina and landed this morning, but he looks very energetic as we were having a chance to chat on the sidelines, Dr. Alberto Gowland from Argentina. I said that with confidence.